Briterion Bollection is back, biatches.
Whoa.
That was my wife, Aileen.
Yes, and this is Kevin, my husband. And see that some interesting things will come out of his mouth.
Yeah, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Briterion Bollection is on tour right now.
Yes, it is.
So we're coming at you live from
Mexico City.
There you go. Eso.
And last night we went to Cineteca Nacional, which is mandatory every time we are in the city.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love that there are so many, like, churches to cinema here. You know what I mean? Like they really take the art form seriously. And yeah, you have these cinetecas, which are like, government ran organizations, and they tend to show artsier movies, than just the regular Cinepolis or CDMX that they have. Yeah, they tend to show artsier, more cultured type of movies. And every time we come here, we always try to hit these up multiple times. There's multiple locations in the city. And there's also other like kind of indie, um, theaters. Like there's Cine Tonalá, which the last one left standing is here in Mexico City. They had one in Tijuana, and it was great. We used to go all the time when it was there, but it got shut down during COVID. And now it's the Taco Museum, right?
Yes, which is okay if you really like tacos. We tried them once. They were good, but I just feel like it is kind of a tourist trappy attraction, so nowhere near as interesting as a movie theater with a restaurant and a mezzanine bar.
Yeah, Cinetonala and TJ was the shit. Um, they would have, movies, indie, foreign artsy movies. They had a bar, they had some food. Um, they would have like lectures and stuff, theater, when they weren't showing movies. And they would have like brunch Sundays where they would have like, jazz playing or DJs and stuff. And you get to chill on the rooftop looking over the city.
Yeah,
That was the shit.
yeah, that's which it has an amazing view.
Yeah, it has a great view. So it would be my dream to bring that back to TJ, honestly, if possible.
Well, maybe if you want to help us out and raise some funds for it to bring it back or to start another project, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but here in Mexico City, there's a lot of great stuff. There's also this La Casa del Cine, right?
Yes, which we just want to briefly check out earlier.
Yeah, and it's just like a cool little DIY movie theater. I mean, they're showing legit movies, like they're showing like Mickey 17 and stuff like that. But you can see that it's kind of like Cine Tonalá, but a little bit even more DIY than that, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That just goes to show you how serious they take movies here.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to say, speaking of DIY, maybe it is like a little more. It's probably like a more rustic version of the digital gym if you are familiar with it.
Yeah, exactly. Digital Gym in San Diego is also kind of like an indie theater. It's connected with UCSD now, but still you can still tell that it doesn't get a lot of funding, like, so it's like they kind of make do with what they got. But it's a pretty cool little theater.
Mhm.
I would encourage you to visit all those theaters if you're in Mexico City, or if you're in San Diego, visit the Digital Gym. I'm sure they would appreciate that. So last night at the Cineteca, we saw, like, we were kind of debating what movie we should watch, right? It was getting kind of late, and I was like, okay, what should we watch?
Yeah, well, Kevin initially suggested me to watch that Jessica Chastain movie, which I wasn't super interested in.
Yeah, because the director is Mexican, Michelle Franco.
Yes, but it has an all-American cast, and to me that's kind of meh.
You weren't that interested in it. So then I just kind of looked at everything. I was like, okay, what's the movie that like really excites me the most? And just looking at it and looking at the time, I was like, okay, I want to see this movie called
Partenope.
Partenope. Yeah, and I knew the director because I'm a fan of the director. So
Yes.
his name is Paolo Sorrentino. He's an Italian director, and he did a great film called
The Great Beauty.
yeah, The Great Beauty. If you haven't seen that, watch The Great Beauty. Maybe we can talk about that movie sometime. Love that movie. So I'm already a fan of his work. I haven't seen all his movies. I also saw the other movie he did. This Must Be the Place is what it's called, and
Did they literally take that from Talking Heads?
I guess so. Yeah. And that movie's kind of weird. But it actually has the guy who was in one of the previous movies that we talked about. I guess the previous movie we talked about.
Which was?
So Sean Penn is in.
Places that we visited yesterday was the Biblioteca Vasconcelos. If you are familiar with it, it's that library that has like that kind of unique structure. It has all the bookshelves kind of stacked like in a Tetris sort of form.
Yeah.
If that's an accurate way of describing it. And we actually walked inside the multimedia room, and there was this lady watching I Am Sam. And it's funny because right before we made this trip, we watched it a couple of days before to be able to talk about the movie on our last episode.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just how you know it's just meant to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When you see signs like that, just saw some random lady watching it there on her own on the little like VHS, TV combo. She was watching it on there, and it was like right about to end, and she seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Paolo Sorrentino also did that film. That This Must Be the Place. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I think I watched it just by myself on Netflix one day, like a while ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. I was like, oh, this is on here, and then I saw that they were gonna take it off, so I'm like, okay, I need to watch it because they're gonna take it off. So I watched it, and I was like, this probably isn't as good as The Great Beauty, but it was still interesting. And if you've ever seen the cover or the poster, so it has Sean Penn, and he looks like Robert Smith. He has like this Robert Smith Cure Edward Scissorhands hair.
I cannot imagine.
Google that. Google that.
I already felt that look that he had during Past Tense at Richmond High. I just thought that's just odd. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's before he was considered a great actor or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He was still young, and that's who I think that's who people thought he was. People thought he was just some surfer dude. You know what I mean? They didn't think he was acting at all. Only later on did we find out he was a great actor. And also, I forgot to mention a great line, a great hip hop line related to Sean Penn. It's from EPMD from the song The Joint. It was like their reunited song because they broke up for a while, but then they came back in '97 with the Joint.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the line. Has some good lines, good lyrics in it, and I like Eric Sermon. He has a line on like the last verse that he spits. He says, "I robbed Sean for his pen for talking, looking, shooking the dead man walking." Like, I love that because he robbed Sean for his pen, like steals his pen
yeah.
to write lyrics. You know what I'm saying? And then Dead Man Walking because Sean Penn was in the movie Dead Man Walking. You know what I'm saying? So, brilliant lyricist Eric Sermon from EPMD. So anyway, so we saw Partenope, and I know this is a recent movie. Usually we don't do movies this recent. I guess the most recent one we've done so far is me and Chris talked about The Substance, but this is even more recent than that. And I feel like it's worth talking about because to me a good movie is like it keeps you thinking about it. After you're done watching it, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you're not sure is it a good movie or not. You're kind of like left wondering. But if you keep wondering about that, then it must be an important movie. It must have had some impact on you. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, it is a good movie because it gave some sort of impact on. But I liked it a lot, actually. I can see here, so it was selected to compete for the Palme d'Or at Cannes last year. So it premiered there on May 21st, 2024. And it was theatrically released in Italy on October 24th, 2024. And it was a big ass hit in Italy. It got like a million, million tickets sold in Italy, which is a small country, you know.
Total?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it broke a million tickets sold. So it was a pretty big hit there. But it's kind of received mixed reviews from critics, which I'm not that surprised, honestly.
Yeah, well, I just feel like you can't please them all the time.
Yeah, I almost have a feeling like this movie, it kind of reminds me of Babylon in a way. You know what I'm saying? At least the initial reaction. Like, yeah, in the sense that...
you mean for Sorrentino? It's like his Babylon.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah, like, which Babylon I think is a great film. I love that film. We'll talk about it.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah.
We definitely
sometime soon, honestly.
I have my own views of the movie, even though I've gone on Reddit and I did I went on somewhat of a rabbit hole, and a lot of people really do not like it.
Yeah, I loved it from when I first saw it in the theater.
I loved it too, honestly. I don't know. I'm kind of torn between that and Whiplash. I don't know which of the two I like more.
They're both great, and I mean, I personally am a fan of La La Land too. So
yeah, when I first saw La La Land, I really liked it. I actually even cried at the end, believe it or not.
Yeah, I was tearing up too.
Yeah, but looking back, that movie has quite a few flaws, and I could get into it a lot, but I don't want to take too much time from this episode.
Yeah.
Just talking about
it. Yeah. You could go for 2 hours talking about La La Land and the flaws of La La Land.
Oh, yes, I can.
It's Flaw La Land to you.
Yes, it is.
Anyways. Yeah, but this almost like, as far as reaction, like the mixed critic reaction, and maybe leaning more negative, reminds me of the reaction to Babylon when that first hit. Mm-hmm. And now we see Babylon's kind of picking up steam on the internet. It's getting a lot of word of mouth from people, and I know it just broke 1 million watches on Letterboxd. So I mean, that means something. You know what I'm saying? That. Mm-hmm. And because I saw that like a few weeks ago, Babylon, because I follow the movie Babylon on Instagram, and I saw they posted 1 million watches, bitches, on Letterboxd. They didn't say that. I added that, but
don't listen to this guy. He just wants to say the B word for no reason.
Yeah, which reminds me of the Brady Bunch movie. Like, she said the B word.
Yeah, I think I've had enough of the B word.
No, it was like. Tim Matheson, he's like, I'm gonna kick your butt. And then Cindy was like, he said the B word.
Well, that's another B word.
Yeah. Oh. No, hilarious. So anyways, I really liked Partenope. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to watch it, here's your cue to listen to one of our other episodes, because we're gonna put some spoilers in this.
Oh, yes.
So there's your spoiler alert.
So maybe wait until after I watch the movie to listen to this episode.
Yeah. So can I do my Wikipedia plot description?
Should that even be a question?
Okay. So plot, according to Wikipedia. So in 1950, the Di Sangro family awaits the birth of their second child. The birth, which takes place in the waters of Posillipo, is attended by her older brother Raimondo and Sandrino, son of the housekeeper of the luxurious mansion where the family lives. She is given the name Partenope in honor of the city of Naples. The little girl, thanks to the protection of her wealthy godfather Achille Lauro, lives a comfortable and happy childhood. And so...
is that how you actually pronounce his name?
Or Achille.
Is that CH?
Yeah, CH. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it would be Achille.
Achille Lauro. So I guess that was the old man with the glasses, right? With who always wears the comandante.
Is he the one who always wore the white suit?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was her grandfather, but I guess...
No. He was her godfather.
Okay, there you go. So that makes sense.
No, because he was not her grandfather if he... he suddenly made advances. Well,
But I thought he was just joking first off, and then second off, well, there's a lot of that in this movie. Like as far as like incestuous type of,
well,
you know.
I don't think it was that excessive. I mean, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So since we just saw the movie, and we saw it in the theater last night, and like I said, as Dr. Imami said, you only get 50% of a movie when you first watch it.
Do you really feel like you only got 50%?
Well, as far as everything, every technical aspect of it, yeah. I mean, at the most, I got maybe 50%. As far as storyline, yeah. I mean, that's one thing, but all the other aspects of the film, which has many
that's true. It does have a lot
aspects, it's deeper than that. So this won't be so shot for shot as far as like how we describe it. It'll be more like the broad strokes of the film. And so yeah, we see the beginning, and it's cool when the movie pops up. We see all the production companies, and then one of the production companies, it says like Saint Laurent Films, and I was like, so like Yves Saint Laurent, like YSL or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the only brand or company that you can really
that has that name, right? Yeah. So then I was like, yeah, that must be it, and I could see. I think I also saw it's like, yeah, it's a French co-production or whatever. So I was like, okay, I guess that's where the Saint Laurent comes into play, which I'm a big Saint Laurent fan, by the way.
Yeah, but can you afford it?
Not necessarily, but I mean, I could if I, was dumb and spent all my money on clothes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of the younger kids don't see that. That's not even.
Yeah.
It's not even that important, but they just focus on things that they don't really need.
Youth is wasted on the young. You know what I'm saying? They don't know the value of the dollar yet. I don't know. Maybe when they're older. But anyways,
maybe they will sooner or later.
Yeah, so I see that YSL pop up, and I'm like, oh, that's cool that they're co-producing this, and then you see like shots of the city and the ocean, and you're like, and like the people who inhabit there, and you're like, oh yeah, this totally has a Saint Laurent look. Like the fashion is off the chain. You see all the people and the clothes they wear. I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Obviously Italy is always going to have a fashion touch to it. And that's something that I feel like Italians have a lot. It's like their art throughout history. Well, maybe not throughout history, but at least in cinema, they're kind of considered more style than substance. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Speaking of the substance, like we should do a movie with style. That's how.
Okay.
That's how Italians are kind of considered as far as cinema. Like they don't work that much on the script. It's more about like the photography and like, okay, let's get some hot girls in this. The fashion has to be on point. Which I don't mind personally, but
it's kind of I don't, but I do at the same time because I feel that it takes away from the meaning of the whole.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean to make a true masterpiece, you have to do it on every level. But I can enjoy a movie for one or two aspects of it. It can be worthwhile just for that. Like to me, Drive isn't that great of a film overall, but the things that were great, I really enjoyed, like the fashion of it, the cinematography, the soundtrack. You know what I'm saying? Like those things make it a great movie, not so much the story. You could say the same maybe about Marie Antoinette. You know what I'm saying? It's not so much the story is that compelling or the dialogue or anything like that. It's more the like costume, the cinematography.
Yeah, but I feel that kind of adds to the superficiality of things.
Yeah, it does. I mean, cinema is a visual medium. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it is.
And that's.
I just feel that there has to be a balance.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the best artists can do that. Wong Kar-wai, shows both. He shows the style, but also there's substance to his films. So yeah, the movie starts off and we see like Naples and the the beauty of it, and to me it looks really beautiful. It looks like a paradise. and you see these like ancient relics, these like ancient sculptures, and that just makes it look really cool. I like mythology and history, so seeing all that looked pretty cool. And then yeah, we see like the family, and they're in this mansion right on the edge of the ocean, and you see just the luxury that they have, and we see that the mom is pregnant.
Yeah, like she's already like in her third trimester.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then they have a son. How old was the son at that time, would you say?
He was probably at least 5 or 6.
Yeah, yeah, and he's kind of like eagerly anticipating, okay, what's this baby gonna do? How's this baby gonna change the dynamics of this? You know what I'm saying? And then she does give birth, and they have her in the water. Like there's like midwives, like
So they have her like you could tell that they just have her floating there in the water, trying to push the baby out.
Right, exactly. And that seems like, and they're all like wearing black and stuff like that. Like, seems very Italian to me. Like, you wouldn't see that in the U.S. or anything like that.
Probably not.
Yeah, so it just seemed like very Italian to me, and it was cool to see. And she's pushing the baby out, and then you finally hear the like, boom, it's like she pops out, and they're like, hey, like what a relief, And they're like, oh, it's a girl. Okay, what do we name her? They're like, okay.
And they're kind of thinking for a while, and they're kind of like, well, what do we name her? Until the mom blurts out.
Well, no, that Aquile.
Oh, that's true.
Because he's the one who suggests that. Because they're like, hey, what do we name her? And they're like, I don't know. They're kind of looking around, and he points, and he's like, Partenope.
Oh yeah.
Because she's like a goddess, he points to like the sculpture that's around.
Well, she's pretty much a symbol of Naples.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, okay, like that works.
Yeah, but he's kind of like, trying to tell the mother, hey, it's like I'm telling you how it's gonna be, because believe me, I know what it's like for one to see women give birth, and I'm kind of like, when I heard him say that, it was like, how do you even know anything?
Yeah, it was kind of strange comment. Guess that's Italy at that time.
Maybe even now.
Italians are very loose, I think, with a lot of things. That's part of what makes them cool, I guess. So, and then we kind of flash forward, but we see like his mom sitting in the little like bed that she has, right, or whatever, that's like enclosed with like curtains around it, and the son, Sandrino, like he.
Well, Sandrino is the housekeeper.
Oh, okay. No, Raimundo, her brother.
Raimondo.
Yeah, Raimundo. He kind of looks around there, and he finds it interesting, the little bed and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's like it's like a recurring theme. You see it throughout the movie. This shot of the bed with the like curtains, which also reminded me of Marie Antoinette, actually, like those type of beds that look like carriages, kind of. You know what I'm saying? And they have like the curtains around it or whatever.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of that. And then, like, we kind of fast forward a lot in time, and we see 1968, because at the beginning, when she's born, it's 1950.
Yeah, so it's 18 years.
Yeah, and then we see her, so she's 18, and we see her coming out of the water, in her bikini or whatever, and you're just like, wow, yeah, she's an adult now, you know what I'm saying? And, like, just the photography of that is really cool, like, her coming out of the water, very, very good job by Paolo Sorrentino with that. And we see, it says here, by 1970, Partenope has become an intelligent and cheeky 20-year-old, aware of her beauty and the influence she has on Sandrino, who has always been in love with her, and Raimundo, who has become a fragile man and obsessed with his sister, almost to the point of incest. That's what it says.
Yeah, when I saw that, I just thought, like, ew. No, I'm being serious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was quite strange, Yeah, like we see this kind of incestuous thing, which I thought was kind of weird, to say the least. But I don't know. It was like I kind of accepted it for the movie just because I've seen weird shit like that in other French and Italian movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but even then, it's why do you want to be excessively close with a relative,
Yeah.
especially a sibling?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't know if he just found her so attractive that I don't know.
Yeah, but she's your
Yeah,
sister.
no, I know. But like you've probably seen in movies, other French movies, like where they say, "Oh, that's my cousin. I want to go out with her," or something like that. Or I've
Not
seen
even,
that. I've seen.
not even just in European movies. There have been a few movies on the side of the continent where I've seen things, and I'm just like, that's just it's just a no.
Yeah, yeah. So we see them; they're very close. I mean, you never see them like make out, right? I don't think. But they
No,
come pretty damn close.
but he's excessively jealous of whoever approaches her. Though.
Yeah, yeah. But we see that Sandrino guy, and he is like that nerdy kid obsessed with the hot chick. You know what I'm saying? And she just kind of blows him off the whole time.
I don't think it's well. It's not that he's nerdy, but he is the housekeeper's son, so you can see that he seemed like as he's below her level.
Right. Yeah. I guess I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, he is kind of nerdy. I don't think he's in her league per se. You know what I'm saying? Not just in a financial sense or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't see him as a dork at all. That's just me.
Okay. Well, so yeah, we see them like they kind of have this threesome type of relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like not sexually necessarily, but just like they hang out together a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're very close, and we see the dad is still working with her godfather. It's like a shipping business or something like that, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. And we can see that Partenope, she's actually like pretty intelligent. She likes reading English language books, and they're asking her like, "Oh, what are you reading?" And she says, "Oh, I'm reading this book by John Cheever or whatever." Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny because I think it's her godfather who says, "Oh, like I don't get why kids want to get involved in American problems." You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Like you live in paradise. Look around. You could just be enjoying this, and you have a lot of money. Why depress yourself with this? It's like listening to Morrissey. You know what I'm saying? Like like you could be living a great life, and you'd want to hear Morrissey bitch about the world. Um,
Yeah, which I wouldn't even use him as an example nowadays.
yeah, just an example. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, and it's like she wants to see the world, and so does her brother to an extent. So they go to the city, right? And they're just kind of hanging out and seeing what they could do. And
well, I think they went to Capri, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, is that where they went? Oh yeah,
Yeah, they went to Capri.
They did go to Capri. But I think okay, so before that, did she already start college before that? Or
yeah, she did.
Okay, yeah. So we see that she's attending this anthropology course with this professor named Devoto Marotta, who is like really severe and feared by everyone. He's a really intense
he's
professor.
Yeah.
And he grades like really strictly and harshly. And they say that his attitude is due to the fact that he has a severely disabled son to support. But no one knows if this is true or not.
Yeah.
No one can confirm or deny that, but she like we can see her. She's like kind of infatuated with him, She wants to earn his respect, you know, because I think it would prove to her that she's, you know, that she is smart and she's on the right track. And they develop a relationship of cold respect is immediately established between them two. So yeah, during that summer, Raimondo suggests to Partenope and Sandrino that they go on holiday to Capri, where he intends to court a rich heiress. Mm-hmm. Despite knowing her brother's fragility, Partenope accepts to go. And on the island, Partenope's uninhibited behavior attracts the attention of many people, including this American guy who she meets, this American older man played by Gary Oldman. Yeah. And she's kind of like, you know, she's just immediately drawn to him, like, oh, well, like, what are you doing here? You know, like, what's your deal? And he's like, you know, just kind of hanging out, you know, and he seems like sad, you know, he just has this sadness there, even though he's like on holiday or something. Mm-hmm. And he introduces himself to her, and he says that he's John Cheever, and she's like, oh wow, like she's really starstruck by that, mm-hmm. even though no one else probably knows who the hell he is. You know what I'm saying? And she's really like, oh, like I love all your stories, and you know, he's like trying to tell her like, oh, it's not so great. You know what I'm saying? Like things, you know, being depressed isn't as great as it seems to be. Kind of, you know, it's not as great as it's cracked up to be. You know, I guess you get to write good stories out of it, but it's not worth the pain and suffering that you feel from it. You know, and we also see that this helicopter pulls up when she's talking to him, and some guy comes up to her and tells her like, oh, like this guy in the helicopter, he wants you to join him for lunch or whatever. And she's like, no, like, you know, tell him to meet me with my American friend or whatever, like later. And okay, so we're editing this together, so we had to do it in 2 different parts.
Yes.
We were in Mexico City in the first part.
Yeah, but unfortunately the Wi-Fi wasn't the greatest.
Yeah, so we had to kind of shut down that session ASAP. And now we're back in Southern California for the next part.
Yeah.
Of the Partenope.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm now experiencing travel withdrawal. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you love it there that much?
I do. I actually do. That's why I keep going back whenever I can.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I feel like it's a bit too touristy for me.
I think it just depends on where you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt that Barcelona was even touristier. Honestly, it even got crowded.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I would put it on almost the same level at this point. You know, even though it's been a while since I've been to Barcelona, but I'm sure it's probably just as bad, if not worse, than it was before. I mean, I just personally, like, when it comes to Mexico, I like Tijuana more for whatever reason. Like, maybe I just like the, you know, even though it gets tourists, like if you go to the right places, you won't really see any of them. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I feel like in Mexico City, all the nice places are overrun by foreigners, mainly Americans. You know, it's like.
Yeah, and that's still a pretty new thing because before you didn't see that many. Now I feel like they took it a little too far.
Yeah, because I think Americans realize, oh, this is like a lot closer than going to Europe, so I can just get here, you know, I can fly here quickly, and you know, I can experience something cool and different, you know. I think that's how they look at it. So that's partly why I don't like it as much, you know what I'm saying, as probably you do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like it's cool, you know. I you know, to me it's almost like Las Vegas. Like it's cool to visit, but I probably couldn't live there in that sense, because it's just like too touristy for me.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. Well, okay, but let's get back to where we.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Back to Partenope. So, we left off that they were in Capri. Yeah. And Partenope meets this American guy, this American older man, who ends up being John Cheever, who's the author of the book that she was reading earlier when she was at the mansion with them, and just by chance she bumps into him, and he teaches her to enjoy everything that her youth and beauty will be able to procure for her. Basically, he's like telling her, take advantage of your youth and your beauty, because it'll take you far. And she's kind of like somewhat reluctant about that, or she's not sure how she feels about that. And then while she's talking with him, this helicopter pulls up, above them, and this like kind of assistant guy comes up and says, hey, this guy wants to meet you, wants to talk to you. And she's like, well, tell him no, like I'm going to be hanging out with my American friend. And so the assistant guy's like, okay, he's not going to like that, but whatever. But then eventually she does meet with that guy, and yeah, he's this rich guy. He almost looks like the guy from Friends, like the Italian guy in like the first season of Friends that Rachel dated or whatever, and Ross got all pissed off. He kind of looks like that guy. He might be that guy. He's not as old looking as I would expect, though, but maybe it is that guy. I'd have to look it up, but he does kind of look like him. And so he tries to seduce her with promises of wealth, but she refuses. So then he's all like butthurt, and he tells her, you aren't that great anyways, basically,
Yeah,
and it's like
that's usually the kind of response that they say when they're defeated and they kind of want to try to get back up.
Yeah, it's like, asshole. And like he reminds me of this guy on Millionaire Matchmaker, like this old guy from Cleveland who, yeah, like he wanted to date Patty's assistant who's young as hell. But then Patty's like, no, like you can't go out there. She's a kid or whatever. You're like 72 or something like that. And then she makes him go out with this like slightly older chick who's like, maybe she's like 38 or something like that. And so they're on the date, and the chick is like saying, oh, I have to be honest, like I don't want another date with you or whatever. And she's like, sorry. And then he's like, oh, that's fine. He's like, I didn't want to date you anyway. Patty forced me to. So he tells her, and she's like, well, that's not nice. So then she's all pissed off or whatever that he told her that.
Which I don't blame her. And what did he expect? I mean, he wasn't going to get anything better than that.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, like I said, he was butthurt. So the reason why Raimondo, her brother, wanted to go to Capri was to see if he could get with this heiress over there. So which he does end up getting with her, and he's like making out with her in this scene, but then he like realizes that he loves his sister more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, since we mentioned earlier that he does have incestuous feelings for her.
Yeah.
Which I already said, that I find that really disgusting. I mean, there's a reason why you don't end up with you don't end up with a relative or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so then he leaves that chick and goes off to hang out with his sister and Sandrino, the friend, the maid's son, and they're all just kind of hanging out, smoking, and they're almost like they're all like kind of making out in a weird way, in a weird scene, and then Partenope kind of pulls Sandrino aside into this little like ditch area.
Yeah.
And they start getting it on. And Raimundo kind of sees this, and he's like, hurt by that. He's like pissed off about it. Not, he's not outwardly.
Well, he just really gets like this huge bout of jealousy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And on top of the fact that he, I don't know, like he seems like he's mentally unstable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like that didn't help his situation. So he kind of wanders off and he's like kind of on the edge of this cliff there, and we could see his sister and Sandrino.
It's like a, it's kind of like a balcony, really.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Like a terrace slash balcony, something like that.
Oh, okay. But we see them like in the background getting it on still, you know. Um, and Raimundo just like, you know, flips back off the balcony and he commits suicide.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you know, it's shocking. You know, I don't think we were expecting that, especially to happen like kind of quickly into the film. You know, um, I thought the actor guy was good though. He almost reminded me of Chalamet's ass. Like he kind of like he kind of has a little bit of that type of look.
I've had a little too much of him, honestly.
Chalamet.
Yes.
Yeah. But you thought you liked A Complete Unknown, right?
Yeah, he actually impressed me, but I do not approve of his relationship with Kylie Jenner. I just
yeah.
don't.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going with that, but yeah. But I thought Dune was good. Dune 2.
I still haven't seen Dune 2. I thought the first one was okay.
Yeah, we saw the first one in Monterrey, right?
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, and I didn't get to see part 2 in the theater, but I did get to see part 2 on Netflix by myself on New Year's Eve.
Interesting. All right, so what about you were talking about Raimundo?
Yeah, so Raimundo, yeah, he dies, and you know her.
So you just see it. You don't see it happening, but it just cuts to everyone that's walking his. You know, everyone that's walking his casket. They're all wearing black, so you know something happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in the aftermath of that, you know, their mother and father kind of put the guilt on Partenope.
Partenope, yeah.
And they'll kind of be, you know, shut off to her after that, you know. And that never quite heals the relationship. It just ends up kind of being like that for the rest of their lives. You know, you know, the dad, he kind of is just a recluse after that, and the mom, she's probably not as reclusive, but still like not very loving after that. They were never the same after that.
No, of course not.
So but I think Partenope was just like, well, you know, I just have to move on. Like I have to still live my life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So she kind of, you know, moves away from them more, and we see in 1974, because she feels so guilty, she asks her Professor Marotta, to support a degree thesis on the topic of suicide. And he accepts her as a thesis student, but suggests that she analyze another topic.
Yes.
Which is the cultural impact of the miracle. Like, I guess just, you know, how miracles have played a part in society. That's like his suggestion, which I thought was kind of not as cool of a topic. But
I feel that, you know, I would have supported her, but I think part of it was also that he was trying to just contradict her, really, more than anything. And it was kind of his way of, you know, you don't use your emotions on this, you know, on whatever topic that you want to talk about. And I think that's why, because he noticed that she was still very emotional.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Like he wanted to, like he wanted her to separate herself from the material.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, so I guess that's why he suggested that. And during this time, she kind of puts a pause on her studies because she remembers that while she was in Capri, she had been noticed by a film agent.
Yes. Or, well, she was like a kind of like a talent scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she kind of takes a break from her studies and tries to become an actress. So first she goes to this lady, Flora Malva, who's an elderly diva who permanently wears a mask after being disfigured by plastic surgery. And it just shows that she's just like a lonely woman. She has, kind of nothing going on in her life. She just stays at home, and it's just like the butler dude is just there with her, and it's like pretty sad. Like she doesn't have much going on, and so
I think she thought that once she lost her looks, like it was just over for her.
Yeah. And there's like kind of a weird scene because they're like in the shower together, and she wants her to kiss her, and she's like, "Oh, like, can I see you first?" And she's like, "No, you can't see me. Like, you won't want to kiss me if you see me or whatever." And it's just kind of a weird scene. I mean, it's kind of cool, but kind of weird.
I just feel that the fact that she pressured her into that's just like sexual assault right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you really analyzed it, I mean, I guess it was somewhat consensual. I don't know.
I don't know. I just felt like she was pressured into it. I don't know if I would necessarily really fully call that consensual.
Yeah, but it was just weird that they were showering together anyways. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, the whole thing is weird. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because we mentioned to our friend like that we saw a movie, right? And he was like, "Oh, what movie did you guys watch?" And we were like, "Oh, it's this Italian movie." And he was like, "Italian, like sexual?" Like he automatically assumed because it's Italian, it must be like sexual or something.
But I think because he assumed that they are kind of out there.
Yeah. And we're kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Not wrong about the sexual aspect. So then Flora directs Partenope to Greta Kuhl, who's another elderly actress of Neapolitan origins who has been living in northern Italy for some time. And she meets up with her on like a boat, and they're having this New Year's Eve party there in her honor. But then Greta Kuhl goes like just on a rant, and she just disses Naples and the people of Naples, and she goes on and on. She just rips their asses, like she just like really, she disses the shit out of them. And Partenope is looking at this like, oh wow, like what's going on here? Like she's kind of in shock that she's doing this. So she's saying like, oh, that the city and the people of Naples never like supported her enough, never loved her enough. So she's kind of like, okay, fuck you guys. You guys never showed me that love. I'm not gonna show you any love. And Greta Kuhl, she talks to Partenope after that, and she kind of suggests to her like, don't be enchanted by the worldliness of things. But I mean, Partenope, I feel like throughout the film, she meets these different mentors or whatever, quote unquote. Like it's just part of the hero's journey, as like Joseph Campbell has said. It's like a story or a movie is like a cycle. You know what I'm saying? And you like part of it is that you're supposed to meet different mentors along the way who help the protagonist learn and grow and push the story forward. And so this is just it's like a good example of that, even though you don't necessarily think so when you're watching the movie. It's like she's kind of bouncing between these different mentors throughout the movie, which is like the classic structure of stories, believe it or not.
Of course.
So then, like while she's on that boat and everybody leaves, she sees some guy smoking in the corner, and she's kind of like, okay, what's this guy's story? Mm-hmm. And he says that his name is Roberto Criscuolo is his name. And you kind of don't know who he is. Like, we see that he's dressed pretty nice, and he's like, okay, like, let me, you want to ride or whatever? So he takes her on his motorcycle, and they're riding, and it's cool because it kind of reminds me of like the end of Fallen Angels, where Michelle Reyes is like grabbing Takeshi Kaneshiro, and it reminds you of that. You know, they don't have helmets on; they're just riding. You know,
I find that very dangerous.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I like that they had that. And so he takes her to this working class neighborhood of Naples, and we see, yeah, like I guess he's like the godfather of that hood or whatever, because he's like walking through the streets and all the kids are like, oh, like, hey, Roberto, and he keeps giving them stuff. He gives them like money, or he's like, do you need anything? You know, we see him. Yeah, so he is like the cartel leader of that like neighborhood, basically. And here, Partenope really sees like the misery and the poverty. You know, she can see like, oh wow, like these guys are really poor. This is a lot different from how I grew up. You know what I'm saying? But she doesn't really judge it, but you can see that.
But, yeah, but I mean, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like she's seeing something totally different, you know, to how she grew up. And it's funny because it reminds you of something earlier in the film when her brother was still alive. He was saying something like, oh, I'm tired of this like luxurious life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to live outside of here and, you know, see something different. Mm-hmm. You know, when he said that, you know, and then we kind of flash back to this scene, it's like, okay, yeah, you can see here the poverty and the misery of people. You know what I'm saying? But it also kind of reminded me of like Siddhartha, like the story of Siddhartha and Buddhism and stuff like that. Because like basically the whole thing with Siddhartha was like his you know, he was like a rich prince or whatever. Yeah. And his parents were like, oh, you know, we're rich, so like our son, he's never gonna know pain or anything. He'll always have money and everything. So like he'll be set for life. And so as Siddhartha grew up, he was like, shit. He's like, I've just been rich and, you know, and pampered my whole life, like, but I haven't experienced anything. Mm-hmm. So he's like, shit, I need to leave this behind. I need to escape all this and see what it really is to live. So he goes out of that, you know, he escapes the riches that he had, and he ends up just being a poor scrub who's struggling, you know, on the streets and stuff like that, you know? Mm-hmm. And then he realizes, like, shit, the profound thing about him and Buddhism, mm-hmm. and I learned this from the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which is a cool book. So what he learned from that was basically, it's like when he became poor, he's like, shit. He's like, life still sucks. Like, even though I've learned how to be poor, life still fucking sucks. Like, it's no better now that I'm poor. You know what I'm saying? Well, so he's like,
something.
So
it's kind of like, you know, ultimately, there are some people that when they're given everything, they ultimately don't learn to appreciate things.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. It's like he knew that. So that's why he wanted to experience the other side of it. So when he like threw all those riches away and lived like a normal person, quote unquote, and struggled, then he realized, like, shit, he's like, life sucks regardless, so I might as well be rich. Why the hell did I leave that shit behind? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I'd rather life suck and I'm rich than life suck and I'm poor. You know what I'm saying? That's what he realized, you know? So that was really the profound thing of Siddhartha, you know, and I could kind of see that here in this film. Like, her brother mentioned that earlier. He was like, "Oh, I'm tired of being rich and shit. Like, I want to see what it really is to live like a normal person." And even though he dies, she sees it.
Oh yeah, of course.
She sees it in this scene, but she's a lot smarter than he is, so she doesn't like fall for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, she sees it just as her studies, like in anthropology. Like, she sees it as an anthropologist sees it. She's observing the situation, which only gets stranger, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So, and what's his name? The director, Paolo Sorrentino. He's really good at these type of scenes where you see like a montage of shit coming together, and you're like, "What the hell's going on? Like, where the fuck is this going?" And then you're seeing all this weird shit, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then it starts to click. So he does this. So the Godfather guy takes her to this random like warehouse or something, or a club or something, or like warehouse of a club, and
it's either one.
And you see just weird, like you see just like random imagery, and then you see like this naked couple in bed, but it's just like a quick shot, and you're like, is that like some art piece or something like that? You're kind of, and like people are surrounding them, and you're kind of like,
at first I thought they were staging it.
Yeah, like it was like some performance art or something like that, right?
Like they're really going to have some sexual activity in front of everyone.
Yeah,
they don't care. But
yeah, like in the movie, Oh Lucky Man, which is the follow up to one of my favorite films, If, directed by Lindsay Anderson, which was actually Malcolm McDowell's first film. If you haven't seen If, the British film,
oh my God,
1968, you need to watch that movie. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies in general, but definitely one of my favorite British movies ever. And Kubrick couldn't have done Clockwork Orange unless he saw If and Malcolm McDowell. That's where he discovered him from If. Yeah. So in the follow-up to If, though, Oh Lucky Man, there's a scene where, like, it's in a weird universe that Oh Lucky Man takes place in. And you see him, he goes to some club, and then he sees the whole crowd, like, cheering on, like, this sex act that's about to take place or something. Like, the crowd is about to watch a threesome in the movie. And, it cuts before you see anything. But it's, like, implying that that's what's going to happen. And that's kind of what I thought was happening here. Like, you saw this couple on the bed, and people started to surround them. You're like, and I was like, what the hell? Are they paying to see this or something like that? But then no. So then it starts to click, and you're like, okay. So they're saying something like, Roberto says something to this other lady, and they're like, okay, it's time for the grand fusion. Like our gangs have been warring for a long time, and we need to connect these, like Romeo and Juliet, basically, kind of
peace somehow.
Yeah, like it's like if the Montagues and the Capulets were like, okay, why don't we have these guys fuck? That way our gang, we can make a bigger gang. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what happens in this scene.
Unfortunately, that's not how Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. But I mean, this is like an alternate reality of Romeo and Juliet, kind of, But it's funny because, we hear this happening, but then Partenope is observing this, and she's with Roberto, who it's like she was like kind of falling for her. I mean, I don't know if they had sex right before that or whatever. I think they did or whatever, right? Yeah. Yeah, like they had sex right before that, and so she's kind of like in love with him, and then all of a sudden she sees that he's this gangster dude, and it's like, oh shit, like what the hell? And then she's like, wait, what the hell's going on here? She asks him, and he's like, oh, it's the grand fusion, like we said, like it's time for our gangs to merge. And so what they've done, so it's like this ritual in which these two gang families will publicly unite to conceive a child who will mark the end of their feud. That's what it says here on Wikipedia. So, and she's like looking at this, and you see like the look on her face. It's like shock, but also like interest. Like,
yeah, like I
the anthropology side of her.
Well, I mean, I noticed she was intrigued.
Yeah.
In some form.
Yeah, and then everyone around, is like, oh, just you can feel the heat in the room, the sweat, in the room, and they're trying to do it, the two young people, and
Well, not that they're trying to. They don't want to, but
no, I
they're
know,
forced
yeah,
into
that's what
it.
I'm saying. But it's like they're basically forced at gunpoint to have sex. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's like, okay, how can I get hard in front of all these people? You know, and then it's like and then I think the chick is like, oh well, if we have to do this, then let's just go all out and do it. You know what I mean? So she kind of takes the lead, and she kind of makes him go through with it. You know what I'm saying?
He tries to follow along, but then you can see like he's like, no, he's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're like, you should be touching her, like start, feeling her, like do something.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there.
Yeah. Initiate it.
But they're really hurt.
Yeah. Violently. Yeah. And it's a very interesting scene, to say the least. And so, like I said, Partenope and Roberto did have sex. And after this whole scene, Roberto tells her like, "Oh, like I'll be in touch," and he kind of like walks away or whatever, and you're like, okay, like I'm assuming, I'm assuming they're not gonna see each other ever again, But in a way, it was like, I felt like Partenope was like too good for him. You know what I'm saying? The fact that she would even have sex with this guy. You know what I'm saying? It was like she really sullied herself to me.
Yeah.
And we kind of cut to, we see her like in a waiting room or whatever, and somebody like a nurse or someone comes out and says, okay, you can go in now. And it's not so explained, but yeah, you see the seat where it has like the pedals, like the gynecological seat or whatever, and you just kind of see the legs pop out, and then it cuts. You know what I'm saying? But I like that. I like that it's,
I mean, we
not so explained. Yeah.
But we already knew what was happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you can already see it in the moment that she finds out she's pregnant, but then she sees that, Roberto he just seems completely uninterested or she just sees like, I don't see him, like, I don't see having a future with him, let alone a child. So that's when you just see her going into the clinic, and you just see the stirrups, and then as soon as she walks in to the room, and I was just like, oh
yeah, it was a nice touch that there was like no words. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, here you go. Like he showed it. I like that he showed it visually. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what this art form is all about. So I guess after a little bit after that, her and Sandrino meet up, and she asks him like, "Oh, why are you moving?" And he says, "I'm moving to Milan for work." And it's like the first time she felt like not necessarily jealous, but it was like, because he was finally like moving away from her, then she finally was like, she like wanted to chase him now. You know what I'm saying? It was like the first time in the whole film. And so he declares his love for her again, but then she's pissed off at him because she blames him for Raimondo's death. And
it's kind of like, but it's just kind of like a domino effect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's like first her mom blames her, and then now she's blaming Sandrino. It's like, why should one blame the other?
Yeah. And I like that she kind of predicts his future. Like, she's like, oh, you know what's going to happen? Like, you're going to move to Milan, and you're going to meet this chick, and you're going to marry her. But then after a few years, you're going to have a crisis, and then you're going to like call me and see if we can meet up or something. And you're going to want to like get with me at that time or whatever. But it's gonna be too late or whatever. Like she kind of predicts this path for him, and he's like almost offended that she would say that, you know. But then she tells him like, oh, like the love you had for me was just like this youthful feeling, and adulthood will bring him disenchantment and problems, and like it's like basically she was trying to say that he was just infatuated with her. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't in love with her, but he confused that. He confused those feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So later, it says, while Italy falls into the years of lead, which I'm not sure what that means. I guess was like a kind of a downward time for them.
I think so.
During that time, Partenope graduates with top marks, and Professor Marotta takes her on as his assistant. And she's kind of like caught off guard a little bit, but he's like, no, you can do it. Like, you're good. Like he's like tries to assure her. And so then it's funny, we saw her as like the student, like being young and like a hippie kind of, but then now after a few years she was like all professional now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think it was mainly because he really shaped her in her career.
Yeah.
So you can see that.
Yeah. But then like once again the Yves Saint Laurent fashion is really good here. Like the pantsuits that she wears are pretty cool for this. And Professor Marotta, he seems to like sense the dramas behind her life. Like he doesn't ask her anything specifically, because I think he doesn't want her to ask him specific stuff, but he can kind of sense that she's had like drama and trauma like in her life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he, but he still has like keeps his distance from her, and there was something where he was like, okay, like I'll never judge you if you never judge me, kind of like he says that, and it's like a deal that they've had the whole time. And now it's 1982, and which we see these years like pop up on the screen, which I think is a cool thing. Like I like seeing the year pop up, there's something like classy about it. I don't know, like, and even just the font of how the year looks, like I like how they did that. So by this time she receives a request from an anthropology magazine to write an article on the liquefaction of the blood of San Gennaro, and decides to turn to Cardinal Tesserone, custodian of the amples of the saint, to analyze the phenomena. So basically what that was trying to say is that the magazine wanted her to cover this thing, how this like blood is produced from this like statue, basically. Yeah. Because they've been hearing about it or whatever, and so they hire her to check it out. And she tells the Professor Marotta, like, oh, they've hired me to do this thing. And he says, oh, watch out for that cardinal guy, because he's a devil. That's what he says. Like, it's kind of funny that he's calling this religious man a devil, but yeah, indeed, he's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just by looking at him, you can tell right away.
Yeah, because he looks like a Italian Juan Gabriel. Like he just looks like.
I mean, Juan Gabriel was eccentric, but I would not put him at the same level.
No,
this guy was way out there.
Yeah,
way out.
This guy was he's pretty hedonistic for a cardinal, for a religious man, I guess.
I don't think there should be religions, and you can see it especially under Catholicism. You see a lot of priests. That's why they commit a lot of rapes and molestation. because it forbids them from having any sexual activity.
Yeah.
It just forbids them, it forbids them from getting married.
Right. It's like it's so strict that they have no way to release any of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, any of those feelings, any of the sexual desire or whatever, it's like so suppressed that they have,
Yeah, I mean that's human instinct. You can't stop.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like there's, well, I mean, I think uh, the Pope Francisco, I think he's
Pope Francis.
Yeah, like I think he's a bit more looser with things. You know what I'm saying? So I would hope that that can change over time.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah. So that cardinal, he promises Partenope to show her the treasure of San Gennaro after the mass, in which the blood will liquefy. It says, in reality, the miracle does not occur, but a woman in menopause claims that her menstrual cycle has miraculously returned, which greatly annoys the cardinal. So yeah, they have this like party with all these like older ladies, and they're all kind of like surrounding the cardinal. They're kind of like groupies for him, and he's kind of like annoyed by them, but
Yeah, but he's put himself like in the like he has created this image of himself that's why these people act like that around him. It's like, what does he expect?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they act like he's a rock star, and so kind of when the party's all over, him and Partenope are hanging out, and like it's kind of weird. Like you're kind of like, oh, like are they gonna have sex or something? Like what the hell's going on? It's kind of weird. Like, so she's like naked, and the cardinal dresses her up in these jewels. Yeah, from the treasure of the saint, explaining to her how in his opinion, Neapolitan spirituality is nothing but a useless machination divided between popular superstition and worldliness. And although he knows that he's ugly as shit, he he also asks her, to have sex, and Partenope agrees. Yeah, and during this sexual act, we cut to a close up on that San Gennaro statue, and then we see like blood come out of it. A little drop happens during their sexual act, which I thought was a cool little touch. It's a very Paolo Sorrentino touch to me, like how he cuts away. He's good at that. Like, there's something where he has these little like these little miracles. Like to me, he shows that a lot in his films. So after that, Partenope goes back to Marotta, and Marotta tells her that he plans on retiring, and he suggests that she take the competition in Trento so that she can win it and return to Naples after a few years of teaching at the local university. So at first, Partenope doesn't want to because of her love for the city, whose name she bears.
Yeah.
But the experience with the cardinal makes her change her mind, and so like we see earlier when she goes to Marotta's house, like he's about to kind of, I guess, like you could hear his son like in another room, and he's like laughing or whatever. He's like,
yeah, but and that makes you wonder, like, but when when I started hearing the laughter, it made me think that he might have had some sort of disability.
Yeah, exactly.
But when they actually showed him, I never expected.
Yeah,
I never expected that.
Yeah, so well, I'll get to that. Like, there's a first part where she goes to his house, and he's like, oh, like let me introduce you, and then it just kind of cuts away. Like I guess he didn't end up introducing her to his son during that part, but it's kind of funny how he like teases it, like he teases it, but then it cuts away, and I guess she didn't end up meeting him. You're not sure what really happens at that part, but then and then kind of later on, throughout the movie, ever since they first met, she asks him like, "Oh, like what is anthropology? Like, can you answer me that?" And he never answers that. Like he never tells her what it is. He's kind of like, "Okay, you have to find out what it is." You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to find out what it is on her own. And so it happens repeatedly through the movie. She asks him maybe 3 or 4 times or whatever, and he never tells her. Our cat Tom is wants to join in on this. So yeah, like he never quite tells her, and then finally she's at his house again. When he says he's gonna retire and everything, and he tells her, "Oh, like you wanted to know what anthropology is, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, okay, so anthropology is about seeing. Like it's about seeing the world, looking at the world." And she's like, "Okay." And then he's like, "Okay, well now you need to see this or whatever." So then he opens the door to his son's room, and he's like, "Okay, after you," and so she walks in, and you're not quite sure what she's looking at, but she's kind of like in awe of it. And then the camera pans back, and you see like something white on the side of the frame. You're kind of like, "What the hell is that? Is this like a statue or something like that?" Because it looks like almost like a Greek or Roman statue, like like this white statue. It almost looks like that from the side, but then it keeps panning, and you see that I guess it's his son, and so he's like an enormous being that's halfway between a newborn baby and an adult. So he's like obese with a childish sense of humor, and he's watching some thing on TV, and he's getting a real kick out of it, and he's like, "Oh, Dad, the guy said dumbass or something like that."
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and
Because I guess the Italian word for dumbass is like stonzo or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So he was saying that, and he's like, and his dad's like, "Yeah, that's nice," or whatever. And
yeah, like he kind of goes along with it.
yeah, and Partenope is looking at him just like in awe, and Marotta tells her he's made of water and salt, like the sea. And she's just like, he's beautiful. Like she's like so in awe of him, So yeah, she's really fascinated by him, and then at that point, it's like Marotta, he just lies down. He's just like, "Okay, like I'm done. Like I'm done teaching. I'm done with everything." You know what I'm saying? So he just kind of lies down after that, and it was almost like, yeah, like this big thing he had to reveal to someone. You know what I'm saying? And now that like weight was off his shoulders, or like at least someone knows about this secret that he has with his son. And I think he just like, yeah, like the air went out of his balloon at that point, and he just like, falls asleep on the couch. And Partenope is kind of like, "Okay, I don't know what to do from this point, but at least I saw this interesting, situation."
Yeah.
And she tells his son like, "Oh, nice meeting you," and he's like, "Yeah, nice meeting you," and she kind of walks away at that point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even though I feel like I don't understand why, she introduced him to her, and then after, it's like after she bonds with him for a bit, it's kind of like, all right, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I didn't feel like he kicked her out. It was like her own
No,
choice.
I felt like his attitude was very abrupt.
Yeah,
He intentionally was just trying to end things right at that moment.
yeah. I mean, I think she also looked at it like, okay, what the hell else am I going to do here with this guy? You know?
No, but I
Um,
mean, I felt like his attitude was something else.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they probably could have handled that whole scene a bit better. Um, so then I guess after that, instead of returning to Naples, once she became a professor, she decided to stay teaching in Trento, where she did her own studies. And then we see a lot of time pass by, and next we see 2023. And it's like her own retirement. And, the students there are like, oh, you know, now that you're retiring, they're like sad to see her retire, and it's sad, I think, for the audience to see her like old now. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least that's how I felt.
Yeah, I felt somewhat sad about it too because you can see that, yeah, she got older and it's kind of like she was not, you know, it's kind of like she lost like what she had in her prime.
Yeah.
And that's what people noticed about her.
Yeah, but the good thing about that is like I felt like she never was like, oh, I'm all about my looks. You know what I'm saying? Like that was what was smart about her.
Yeah, she knew that ultimately that would,
Yeah,
and
not go anywhere. Yeah. So she never like relied on that. You know what I'm saying? She was always like trying to be smart, and develop her career. It's not like when she got approached with the acting, she didn't end up going down that route, even though she could have. You know what I'm saying? She decided that the academia was more for her. And she decides to go back to her home city in 2023. And so her played as an older lady. That's the actress is Stefania Sandrelli, who's been in a lot of
yeah, I figured
good Italian films.
She was a veteran.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of great Italian films, like from Bernardo Bertolucci. She's been in a few of his stuff back in the day. So yeah, and she's uh, in her city, and she's like reflecting on her brother's death, all those years ago. And in that moment, she realizes that she's always had the same contradictions as Naples itself. Um, and she's able to realize, like, oh, like, I love this city regardless of all its, like, warts and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is me. This is who I am. This is where I'm from. And I just have to accept that, kind of, and that's kind of how it ends. And we see her like walking the streets, and then we see these like soccer fans come up like in a bus or whatever, and they're all like chanting or whatever, and she's like, oh wow, like that's interesting. I'm saying, like, it was a very far place from where it began. Yeah, and maybe this ending part, it's probably not the strongest part of the film. I don't know if he could have wrote it a different way. Like, I don't know if we needed to see her older necessarily. Probably, like, if I was going to cut out anything of the film, it could have been that section. I mean, we do kind of see her briefly flash back to being young again, at the very end. But like, if people see this movie and they say it's too long, like, I think they could have cut out the whole end, like, ending with her being older. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, somewhat.
Like, I don't think you would have missed that much if they took that out of the film. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's fine being there, but I'm saying if like people were like, oh, it was too long, cut something out, I'd probably choose that part to cut out.
Yeah, probably. But I think they also wanted to show that, like she was reflecting, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could have still shown that, but maybe not as long as they did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe just like a minute or two or something like that. But I think it's kind of funny how when she's about to retire and her students are talking to her and they mention something that she said that the professor said when it was like her first day there or whatever. But it was like a joke she reused that he said because she's like saying, "Oh, I remember how this kid had to use the bathroom or whatever."
Oh yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, and so you told him like, oh, you just came to university just to piss and shit or whatever."
Yeah.
Like, it's very funny, and that's what he said like to some kid on his first day or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Because he asked if he could use the bathroom.
yeah, and he's like, "You just came to university to piss and shit," like, and the movie just kind of ends there, and I can see why the movie's getting kind of a mixed reception, but I mean, I personally liked it, and that's why we're talking about it now, and I feel like a good movie, yeah, it does make you think after a while, like if it's been a few hours or days and you're still kind of thinking about the film, then I think it's a good film because it must have had some sort of effect on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and like I was saying earlier, like I feel like this is kind of like his Babylon. You know what I'm saying? Like I could see it being, kind of controversial film, like mixed reviews, people not liking it that much, even though this was actually a hit in Italy. But I think it's more like their national pride for it, not so much the content or like the how great it is necessarily. It's more like I think Italians are proud of the movie. That's at least how I see it. But I could see this over time, people going back to this and be like, "Oh, this movie's tight. This movie's the shit," you know. And I could see the main actress who plays Partenope. I guess her name is Celeste Dalla Porta. Is her name? Like I could see her being a big star out of this. Like to me, this is a star-making role because she has a lot of screen time in this.
Yeah.
Like seeing her in this, it almost reminds me of like when I saw Adele Exarchopoulos in Blue is the Warmest Color.
They kind of remind me of
Yeah,
each other now.
yeah, exactly. Like seeing her here, she has that same type of magnetism, yet like the innocence that she had, yet her intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like they have a similar vibe to me. So like seeing her here reminded me a lot of seeing Adele Exarchopoulos in Blue is the Warmest Color, which I think is a great film. I know you have your criticisms of that film, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about it sometime.
Well, I I feel like I could go on about it, but I just feel that I'll save it for
Yeah, we'll save it for that time.
Yeah.
And seeing this film, it reminded me a little bit of The Brutalist, or almost like a female brutalist, like in the sense that we see this whole passage of time go on, and we see like things change, over time, like not just with people, but just like the environment and society, like reminded me a lot of that actually. And then in the Brutalist at the very end, it ends up being in Italy, so just that Italian connection, yeah, it did remind me of the Brutalist. Um, any other thoughts on this film, Aileen?
Well, about this film, I mean, I liked it. Like, I liked a lot of aspects about it, but there are some things that I just felt like were inappropriate and gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the whole situation with Raimondo, and even the fact that older men were hitting on her. I just found that to be like, I found that pretty disgusting, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I felt that, in a sense, she was empowered because she thought, for me, like my looks and charm aren't everything. Like I feel like I really need to work on myself and to really prove that I'm someone just beyond of what people see on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I felt that um ultimately the only person who was ever really real with her was her professor. And even though he was pretty hard, he was pretty hard with her at times. I feel that ultimately he was the only really, I guess, the only positive influence for her in her life.
Well, I think that's why she liked and respected him so much, though, is because he's the only one who could keep it real with her. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's I think that's why she admired him so much. Even when she first met him, like in the class, like it's like she was looking at him with admiration. You know, she wanted him to notice her. You know what I'm saying? Like she just didn't want to be another faceless student. You know, being pushed through the educational system. You know, like she really wanted him to notice her. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's because she respected him so much. And then when they did have a professional relationship, it was like he was the only one who could keep it real with her. You know, he wasn't like, even though he's older and it's not like you could tell he's not like trying to hit on her, but like he could easily let her slide just by her beauty. You know what I'm saying? Just like he could pass her just because he thinks she's pretty or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you could tell he never did that with her. It was like she had to prove herself. You know what I'm saying? And I think she respected him for that. That yeah, he never let her slide. He always kept it real with her, and that's why he kind of rewarded her with his big reveal at the end. His big secret that he's been keeping from everyone.
Yeah.
Um.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also I did want to point out that also how the relationship with her parents became really strained after the death of Raimundo and how they blamed her for his death. It just shows you that a lot of times in families, especially with parents, when they tend to take out their trauma on on at least one of their children, if not more than one of them. But it's kind of like they used her as a scapegoat, and it shows you that in families that's way more common than a lot of people think. Like, and it's really hard for me to put it into words, but that's why, and it's a way to show that if you have to, you just sometimes have to break certain put an end to certain relationships, even if it involves your own family. It's like that's why if you see nowadays a lot of people are going no contact with family members because it's they're
it's too hard.
And it gets to the point where if there's a lot of toxicity involved, you just need to know where to cut that off.
Yeah, exactly. And Naples had a lot of toxicity in the city, right?
Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah. So yeah, and looking at some of the reviews so far, yeah, they're not great. It said on Rotten Tomatoes, the website's consensus reads equal parts sumptuous and vapid. Parthenope gains some radiance thanks to Celeste Dalla Porta's arresting performance, but frustratingly finds writer-director Paolo Sorrentino out of his depth. Metacritic said gave the score 52 out of 100 based on 26 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. The Guardian's Peter Bradshaw dismissed the film as being facile and conceited, accusing Sorrentino of pure self-parody and likening the film to a long-form advertisement for expensive cologne. Which I thought it looked cool. I thought the photography was great. Yeah, it does look like a Aqua di Gio ad, but who cares? Like I said, a lot of Italians, they prize style over substance. You know what I'm saying? And you just kind of have to go with that. You know what I'm saying?
It's Italy after all. And I mean, if you can't see that that's just how they are, then we'll just never understand.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I thought it was great, and that's why I want to talk about it now. And we saw it at the Great Cineteca in Mexico City,
Yes.
which we've seen other great films there, like Good Time we saw there, right?
Yes, we did. I saw Battle Royale there just last year.
Lucky.
During Movie Fest, during movie,
Yeah,
MUBI, if you
people know what that is.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm saying it for those who
The layman.
yes, and which I'm about to get to, because if you have been to Mexico City, or especially if you live in Mexico City and you have not been to Cineteca Nacional, I don't know what the hell you are doing.
Yeah, maybe they're not movie fans or movie buffs like our friend Beto, right?
Yeah, you can see that because he has been a local for almost all his life. He just doesn't appreciate it. It's like my biggest frustration about living in this area is that there isn't enough of it. Like, I feel that a lot of the people there really take it for granted.
Yeah, yeah, they kind of do. Even though they do get more people than probably your average art house theaters do, But
Yeah, but I mean, I just feel that you would not get me out of that place if I were to live there, or if
yeah,
I had, or if I could be there with a lot more frequency than
yeah,
I ever get to.
yeah, I would be there a lot too. Well,
Yeah.
we would be together, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, in the places, the areas that we're familiar with, a lot of movie theaters have been closing down, and that has made me very sad and frustrated.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to talk about this movie since I really liked it and we saw it there. And I know it's funny because we saw Good Time and no one was really talking about it. But then all of a sudden, like, I think a year later, Pete Davidson started talking about Good Time on, like, Jimmy Fallon, saying, "Oh, this movie's fucking great. You need to watch it. You've never seen it. You need to see it." And then it kind of blew up a little bit after that just because he was talking all the shit about it.
Well,
But that's what I was saying.
yeah, but who cares about him? I don't even know how that guy has made it anywhere. I mean, I may be wrong, but in my opinion, I don't see where the hell is his talent, because I really don't see it. As
Yeah.
to where I've seen people who have been trying to come up in the industry for years, and they've struggled to even get any kind of work.
Yeah, I guess it's all who you know and stuff. But yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the problem.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to talk about this movie before anyone else really did. I wanted to beat these assholes to the punch. And also that movie that he was in, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Like, I couldn't get through that. The cast was too superficial and Gen Z, which maybe that was the director's intent, but I just really couldn't get through that. So on that note, that was Parthenope. Try to check it out. It might be on Netflix soon. Yeah, and thanks for listening to this episode of Briterion Bollection. Thanks, Aileen, for joining me. Thank you guys out there.
And thank you again, Kevin, for inviting me.
Yeah, and Briterion Bollection will be back. Bitches. Peace out.
Wow.
See ya.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.